What?
We'll never forget you.
Okay. So what you're supposed to do when someone gives you a gift?
Thank you.
Say thank you, yes? You appreciate. But imagine this for 1 second. I gave you 10 million pounds, yes, as a gift, and instead of thanking me, you thanked Ustad Adnan Rashid, who had nothing to do with me giving you 10 million pounds. Does that make, okay, slap in the face, does that make any sense?
Unfair. It's unfair.
It's unfair, it's illogical, ungrateful. But you're being grateful to Adnan, not to me. That's injustice, right? So the point is this, that everything that you have in your life is a gift. Brother, if I offered you 100 trillion pounds for both your eyes, I offer you 100 trillion pounds for both your eyes, would you sell them to me? You know how much 100 trillion pounds is? It's 1,000 billion. But I need both your eyes, not one, both of them. So if you wouldn't sell both your eyes for 100 trillion pounds, how much are your eyes worth then? Priceless. What about your nose, your mouth, your whole existence? You can't put a value on it, yeah? But you are not the product of your own design. Allah gave you that gift, yes? So what we say is, when it comes to other religions, all of these gifts have been given it to you. Stop misdirecting your thanks to something that doesn't deserve that gratitude and thanks. And that's what the other religions do, and that's the difference. So if anyone comes with you with that, tell them. That doesn't make any sense, because there's only one creator. It's like me thanking someone else. It's illogical, right? This is what we mean by worship. And then, it goes on to say, why does Allah deserve our worship? We can talk about the acts of worship. It's in your notes. And you can speak about the fruits of worship. When you do this, there's fruits of worship in this life and the next life, right? So you need to go through that in your notes. And the final section is the section of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, which is an accompanying argument, right? That you've said to Ben, you've had this conversation, he believes in God now, he believes in the nature of Allah, he believes that the Quran must be revelation. But now you need to show to him, to put the icing on the cake, because I've had this argument with someone, not argument, but someone's had this contention before they accepted Islam. So how do we know that the Prophet ﷺ is the last and final messenger? Because people claim to be messengers all the time, right? In fact, you could probably go to, a mental hospital, and I'm sure in one of them you'll find someone claiming to be a prophet. In fact, you don't need to go to a mental hospital. There are people walking on the earth thinking they're prophets, yes? One down the road. So, all these people, they claim to be prophets. How can we show that the Prophet ﷺ was indeed the last and final messenger? Who has some ideas?
I think the Quran and the Bible.
Okay. What do you mean?
And the verses that state Prophet is the last prophet.
Okay, but say, put the Quran aside. He says, okay, that's your book. I don't,
Now I'm talking about both, because normally they believe more to the Bible than to the...
Okay, so you're talking about Christians, yes?
Yeah, so you give you both.
Okay, he'll tell you there's no name Muhammad in the Bible. What are you talking about? No, in the New Testament there isn't. I'm talking about the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. What is unique about him? And how can we show that he is the last and final messenger? This is one, the Christians, they will say is, okay, if he was a prophet, what prophecies did he make? So this is a good supporting argument. Give me some of the prophecies that we can use. So, the tall buildings in Arabia by barefooted Bedouins, yeah? That's a good one. Very simple, look. If someone says, how does the Prophet ﷺ, we have a logical argument here, yeah? Truthful, his teachings and agreement. First one, the Prophet ﷺ, he called his community onto a mount and he wanted to make an announcement. So they came. This is before he claimed prophethood, yes? Or he announced prophethood. So they all came and he made a statement. He said, "O people of Quraysh, there was an invading army coming over this hill. Will you believe me? He said, of course we will believe you. You are the truthful and trustworthy. Yes. So they established that he was truthful and trustworthy. So then he made the statement, then believe that I am the messenger of God. And that's when they mocked him. But the point here is the first point, that he was seen as someone who is truthful. Now he made that statement, I am the prophet of God. Now when someone makes any statement, there are three possibilities to that statement. Either, number one, the person is lying. Or number two, the person is deluded. Or number three, the person is telling the truth. Three options when anyone makes a statement. Now, when the Prophet ﷺ said, I am the messenger of God, was he lying? How can we show he was not lying or he was not a liar?
Even non-Muslim.
Because people are tested.
Yes, they said he was a truthful person, yes. They left their money with him because they trusted him. He was a trustworthy person. He did not have the characteristics of someone who was a liar. And two reasons why people lie. What are those two reasons? Why do we lie?
To cover our inadequacy.
Number one, so to cover something, to hide something. And number two?
Our disbelief in Allah.
No, just in general, why do people lie? To benefit, right? To gain. Two reasons, to hide or to gain. Now the Prophet ﷺ, was he hiding anything when he was proclaiming he's the messenger of God? No. He was openly telling the people, right? So he's not hiding anything. Was he gaining anything by making this claim?
No.
No.
He was losing.
He was losing, yes. His followers dying, he was persecuted, he lost his wealth. And they offered him, the people of Quraysh offered him.
Chieftaincy,
Yeah.
money, wealth.
Exactly.
Rejected.
He said no. He said, even if you give me the moon in my left hand.
And someone like where I will never live with Allah.
So he never compromised on the message. So he was not someone who could say was a liar, right? So okay, he wasn't lying. Maybe he was crazy. We said there's many people out there thinking they're crazy. Why could the Prophet ﷺ never be crazy? How can we show that he was not crazy?
The message.
What message? The Quran. So if someone is mad, you would see signs of madness in their writings. Nowhere in the Quran you see signs of madness. Nowhere do we see in the hadiths or the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ any mention of madness. And in fact, if someone is crazy, who are the first people to notice? His people, his family, his friends, right? Someone who's mad cannot come up with the Quran. Simple as that. And it never manifested. So he wasn't deluded. Therefore, it leads to one truth. That he is, in fact, the last and final messenger, right? So I would use this as the primary method. But then you can add extra arguments on top of that. So for example, when you're speaking to the Christian, yes, use Isaiah chapter 42. Yes, the beginning, 1 to 10. It speaks about a prophet to come in the future. It speaks about a man with a new song for the whole of humanity, meaning a new recitation. It also mentions, and this is where you can get the people if they are sincere, it also mentions the specific exact place where this will happen. It mentions a mount, Mount Sela, S-E-L-A, mentioned by name. Does anyone know where Mount Sela is? Mount Sela is in the district of the 7 mosques in the city of Medina. When was Isaiah revealed?
When was?
Isaiah revealed.
It was not revealed.
Okay, but when is it dating back to? Was it dating at the time of the Prophet ﷺ?
No, before.
Was it dated at the time of Isa alayhi salam? Before that, yes? So this was a prophecy in the past. Mount Sela, right? The first 10 verses. It's mentioning a place. It also mentions the people of Kedar. Who are the people of Kedar?
Arabs.
Arabs, yes? What's interesting is, where was the Prophet ﷺ born? Where did he migrate to? What was it called before Medina? Yathrib. Who was living in Yathrib? Yahud and Arabs, yes? What were those Jewish people doing there in the middle of Arabia?
They were waiting for the Rasul.
Waiting for that prophecy to be fulfilled. They knew it was in Medina. They were there. But the mistake they made is they thought it would come from, the Prophet would come from their lineage. A powerful supporting argument to show that the Prophet ﷺ was in fact the last and final messenger. And then of course share the beautiful teachings of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. The way he conducted his life, the way he taught us, the amazing stories of his interactions, of how people accepted Islam. Like the story of the old woman. He went to help this old woman and she didn't know who he was. So she helped him, and the Prophet was leaving and she said, I just want to say thank you, but I want to give you some advice. Because she was really grateful that this man had helped her. She said, I'm going to give you some advice that will help you. The Prophet said, yeah, sure. And this old woman said, you know what? There's a man causing disunity amongst our people. I suggest you stay away from him. He's very bad. He's causing disunity amongst the tribes. Stay away from him. So the Prophet smiled. He didn't say anything and he accepted it. And he was walking away. But the woman stopped him. So he didn't even engage it. The woman stopped him and said, oh, yeah, by the way, what's your name? He turned around. Said, my name is Muhammad. And what was the response of the old woman? What was her response? She took shahad. Says, no way a man like this, the lies that they are spreading can come from a man like this. I've interacted with him. So she accepted the truth. So all of these things combined is a powerful argument. And in fact, what I suggest, you probably guys already have it, give someone a seal of the Prophet Muhammad. How many people have accepted Islam by just reading the seerah of the Prophet Muhammad? You know, the greatest man ever alive, a mercy sent by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to mankind. Now we have covered what's known as the GORAP. GORAP stands for God's existence, oneness, revelation, and prophethood. You can use this as a framework, a blueprint, that whenever you have a conversation with someone, you can go in a logical, rational manner where you explain to someone the message of Islam in a way that is intelligent, compassionate, logical, reasoned. And you know the good thing about the GORAP is you don't have to do it all in one go. You don't have to do it in a chronological order. You could start with just prophethood if you wanted. You could start with oneness of Allah. It all depends upon the conversation and the person you're speaking to. And you can use them in isolation. But the point is, the whole idea behind this methodology being created was, the Sheikh Abdul Rahim Green and the other brothers, they were like, how can we have, a conversation with someone where we can explain to them, the message of Islam, which is holistic, which is logical, which is for the 21st century, that is rational, that appeals to people's intellects, that makes sense, that we can show. And this is why we came up with, with the GORAP, alhamdulillah. The A is being developed into afterlife as well. You can add that as well. So you could talk about, in extension to purpose of life and revelation, you can add afterlife and say, this life is a test. We're going to die. What's going to happen to us when we die? And Allah always tells us to reflect on death. Juzumma is all about the afterlife, a very powerful methodology of calling people to Islam. So that sort of concludes the GORAP. But before we end, if you had that conversation with Ben and say it was over a period of time, and he agrees that Allah exists, the nature of Allah, the Quran is from Allah, and the Prophet ﷺ is the last and final messenger, what's the next step? Invite him to Islam. The Shahada, right? And this is important because sometimes people miss this. But it's important to understand something when it comes to the Shahada, that the person understands what the Shahada means. It means that it's not just an empty statement. Or, like Christians believe, I believe Jesus in my heart, therefore I'm saved. No. Islam is a practical religion, meaning that you have to take steps. So explain to them what the Shahada means, right? The Shahada is broken up into two parts. What's the first part of the Shahada? So what does that mean? To negate what?
Everything else.
There's 9 water of worship.
Yeah, everything.
Yes. So what you're doing is you're affirming that Allah is the only one that is worthy of worship and negating all other false deities. Yes. So that's when Ben's there, he is affirming that only Allah is the one deserving of worship. That's the first part of the Shahada. What's the second part of the Shahada? Okay, so the Prophet ﷺ is the last and final messenger. What does that mean for Ben though?
You believe in all the prophets
Okay, you believe in all the prophets.
And the seal of the prophet.
Okay, and the Prophet ﷺ is the last and final. But what does that mean for Ben?
that you will try to live your life according to.
Yes, very good. So number one, you affirm that Allah is the one that is deserving of worship alone. Second part of the Shahada, I'm going to start living a life that's pleasing to God. How am I going to do that? By following the Prophet ﷺ as our role model. That's what it means, yes? And that's their journey. It begins. So what you want to do now is you want to focus on the new Muslim. And I know you guys do that already, but take down their contact details, make sure you meet them, and start developing them so they start becoming practicing Muslims. So this is something that is, neglected in the dawah, unfortunately. A lot of people doing dawah, but not a lot of people doing new Muslim support. This is something that we need to fix, right? So we need to develop new Muslims, we need to develop, support and mentor new Muslims. Yeah, and so this is what and if we look at the statistics, which is really sad, 40 to 50% of people that come to Islam, they leave after a year. And the reason is because we don't look after them, right? But the most important thing you want to teach the new Muslim is to develop that relationship with Allah, right? And how do you develop a strong relationship with Allah? Like it says there, through salah and dua. Yes? The 5 a day, start with that and supplicating. And remember, when you explain salah to a new Muslim, make sure you do it in the correct way. Don't just explain, okay, let's go to the masjid. I'm going to show you how to wash yourself quickly. Come on, the adhan is going to begin. Stand next to me and just copy me. That's not how you teach someone how to do salah, yeah? I'm sorry.
Verification.
Yes, so what you want to do first is explain what the salah is. Explain, yes? What does salah mean?
Make the person understand as to why.
Yes, what does salah mean?
Is a link,
A connection.
connection between the creation.
Yeah. So when you're explaining the salah, tell them, look, I want you to imagine that you are standing in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, your Lord. There's nothing in front of you. And all I want you to do now is just open your heart and have a direct conversation with Allah. Say to Allah whatever you want, right? And that's what the salah is. You being grateful, you being thankful, you being remorseful, All of these feelings should emanate from yourself when you're performing the salah. The salah is not a ritualistic action that you just need to get done. Because if you don't teach them this, when it comes to the salah, what will happen? It's just like a burden. Oh, I just need to quickly get my salah and then I'm done. No. That's not what the salah is. It's your time to connect and then explain. And I'm sure you guys do that already anyway. Alhamdulillah, you have a great organization here. Jazakallah khairan for staying till the end, inshallah. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless all of you and accept it. Ameen. And if you have any questions, we'll be around, for the next 2 days. We're going to do the exhibition, inshallah.
Who is the Love One? Allah. Who is Ar-Rahman? Allah. Who is Al-Mannan? La ilaha illallah. Muhammadur Rasulullah. Muhammad is the messenger. To Allah is our return. La ilaha illallah. Muhammadur Rasulullah. محمد رسول الله.